I think it's about taking that first step and doing something there that I think really, pushes things in a path to do more. And I think Fiverr being a relatively large company, I think it's even hard for us to take those first couple steps and start doing these things and do more of these things. But I think it's really about, being intentional and being really focused. And I think it's been, really rewarding, focused on the impact side of things, for me personally and me professionally.
Welcome to Impact Us All, the business podcast for making substantial change. I'm your host, Jimmy Newson, the Impact Influencer. Join me as I explore the stories, strategies, and insights of entrepreneurs, industry experts, and national and global brands that care. We focus on the initiatives that make a significant difference in communities around the world and bring you innovative techniques for overcoming challenges and barriers in your business journey. This is a place for real-world lessons, actionable advice, and inspiring insights to help you elevate your unique selling proposition for professional and personal growth. Stay tuned as we dive into this week's impactful strategies. Let's move forward together, because together we can impact us all. In this episode, please allow me to introduce you to our amazing guest, Matt Clunan. Matt is Fiverr's Vice President of Global Brand Marketing. He oversees the continued growth and expansion of Fiverr's brand. Without further ado, please welcome Matt Clunan. All right, everyone, we are back with another amazing episode of the Impact Us All Business Podcast. Impact. I'm loving life. I just did some amazing stuff. I can't tell you about it. Yeah, I could tell you about it, but I'm not going to tell you about it. You know why? Because I got somebody I want to tell you about, and he is Matt. You heard the introduction, but I'm excited to talk to Matt. I've been a Fiverr user, and I've been on both sides as a deliverer of services and also leveraging those services. And as a small business, it is so important to understand that you're never alone. Even if you're a one-person organization, there's always opportunities for you to tap into other situations with experienced individuals. And Fiverr is an amazing opportunity, and that's why I'm excited to happen here. And Matt, being the VP of Global Brand Marketing, I hope I got that right. It's first of all, how passionate are you about small business?
Yeah, I think Fiverr is all about small business. Trying to focus on larger businesses too. But, I think what's gotten Fiverr to where it is today is, supporting small businesses and making an impact on the things small businesses are trying to do, whether that's a freelancer trying to start their own kind of freelance career, or a small business starting to get off the ground, or, medium-sized business scaling. Our platform is there to make an impact on, people's businesses, people's kind of aspirations and dreams. So I think it's at the heart of what Fiverr does. And I think it's, in turn, at the heart of what I do and kind of where my attention has been on the last 5 years here.
Absolutely. So before we get into this impact conversation, let's start with, because you've got a really great history. I looked at what you've done and I was just like, oh, okay. First of all, I've never interviewed a model, so that's cool. I think I wanted to be one at a time, but and now bald heads are in, but now I'm probably a little too old for that. But I'm cool with that as well. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey, and then we'll get into impact.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me on. Excited to chat with you about impact and everything here. But yeah, I'm Matt. As you mentioned, I'm the VP of Brand Marketing at Fiverr. I've been here for 5 years now, and it's been an exciting time. If those of the people listening aren't totally familiar with Fiverr, Fiverr is a digital service platform that connects businesses with freelancers. So it's a global platform. It's been around for about 14 years, I think now. And, millions of businesses, millions of freelancers across the world, have used it. So it's been, pretty exciting to be a part of it the last 5 years. But I think, the next 14 years will be just as exciting to kind of see how Fiverr grows, how kind of the future of work and, how remote work and freelance all kind of really comes together. Because I feel like there's been so much change over the last few years.
Sure.
But yeah, I grew up in Vermont. Ski racing was my life as a kid. So, a lot of snow in Vermont, and that was great. Went to school up in Maine, equally as cold and remote. But I've been in New York for the last, I want to say 13 years now. So prior to Fiverr, I was working at SeatGeek, which was a online ticketing company. I was there kind of very early days when the company was about 15, 20 people, was more on kind of the growth marketing side of things, but then really spent the second half of my time there building out kind of brand marketing at SeatGeek. And yeah, before all of that, as you mentioned, I was a model, which was not something planned, not something I expected, but it was a good, first step into seeing what was out there in terms of like career options and things to do. It allowed me to travel, allowed me to see the world, allowed me to push myself to be very uncomfortable. It's not something I would have ever saw myself doing, ever wanted to do. And I think I learned a lot about myself and the world in those couple of years I did it.
Love it. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into it. So the first question I always love to ask is, what does impact mean to you?
Yeah. I guess I'll start with what impact means to Fiverr, in my words, and then kind of what it means more personally to me. But Fiverr's mission is to change how the world works together. And it's been that mission statement has been true for a long time. I don't know when it was kind of first set in stone at Fiverr, but I would say, being honest, when I first started at Fiverr, I thought it was a little bit too much. You know what I mean? I was like, really, is this company actually going to change how the world works together? And I think, being here for 5 years, seeing kind of what has changed with COVID's effect on the world, seeing the trends around freelance, it is real. And I think it is a real focus of the company. And it is kind of a true North Star that we have, in that if Fiverr as a platform is changing how people work, is making things possible, is kind of democratizing access to talent. And it's really giving businesses and freelancers a different way to work. So I think, impact at Fiverr is on an individual level. I think most importantly, there are people that have skills, there's people that need skills, and it's connecting those. So I think the heart of the platform and just the fact that it connects people is making an impact on someone's aspirations, someone's business success, and all of these things. So it's been, great to see how the platform itself is making an impact. But I think in addition to that, that's not enough. It's not enough to say, hey, we have this platform that is democratizing access. There's still challenges there. So I think Fiverr has made a focus to be, community driven, recognizing that the freelancers we have on the platform are kind of the heart or the engine of what Fiverr has to offer. And we need to do more to support them and to make sure that this is a place that they want to kind of build their own career, is a place that they want to work, is a place that they want to grow these skills. So I would say it's taking an extra focus on that. And, we've started more social impact initiatives. We launched the Fiverr Future Collective, and we can talk about that as we get in. But Fiverr Future Collective is a accelerator program for Black-owned businesses, and it is just entering its third year now. So focusing on really, providing mentorship and funding to, marginalized communities there. There's another ideator program, which is a accelerator program in the UK for now, that's focused on slightly smaller businesses, but again, focus really on mentorship and providing, opportunities there. And then there's just a handful of community-driven activities that we do, from hosting, hundreds of in-person and online community events throughout the year. And then last year, we kind of kicked off what we're coining International Freelancer Day, just a day kind of celebrating freelancers and really, embracing what it means to freelance there.
Wow. Okay. And there's a lot going in there. Did you want to touch on how you look at impact?
Yeah. I think for me personally, that's the most interesting part of my job and what it means is to see the impact you're making. It's Fiverr as a platform is this big thing, but looking at the individual level, looking how my work, hopefully, is impacting, someone's chance at succeeding. And there's so much like ambition and, a desire to succeed, create something, and knowing that like the work we're doing, growing the platform, is feeding into that and growing that, I think is what's rewarding. Really getting to understand what small businesses need, what freelancers need, what businesses, larger businesses need, and how can we, as a marketing team, as someone more on the brand marketing team, make sure we're positioning Fiverr to bring that to life. So I think it's been really rewarding to be a part of, a company that's on its way to transforming how people work, and to really kind of lead that and, be part of driving that change, not so much just letting this change happen, but actually, pushing the change in the direction we think it should be going.
Sure. And there's so much to unpack there. We do what you said, and you're like, and being able to look at, it took quite a few notes. I'm like, oh my goodness, all right, we got to talk about that. Oh my goodness, we got to talk about that. So that's the two things I want to talk about, or your initiatives. I think those are amazing, and I want to kind of dive in a little bit and give my perception of, I speak to hundreds and hundreds of small businesses almost monthly. So the first thing is I say, is they say the money's in the list, but I think the new currency is community. Yep. And so let's dive a little bit more into community for you, because I think that's a huge impact for businesses large and small, because, if we get technical talking about doing away with the third-party cookie, not trying to get too crazy, but, that community is so powerful today. Can you go into deeper understanding of that community that you're building and why it's so important?
Yeah, I think, Fiverr as a community can be kind of like broken down a couple of different ways. There is the Fiverr kind of umbrella of everything. What that would be is, there's employees that are part of the Fiverr community, there is businesses that are part of the Fiverr community, and there are freelancers that are part of the community. And I think all of those have to work together to understand each other to really kind of succeed. I think, the most passionate sides of that kind of three pieces there are, the freelancers and the employees. I think businesses, it's how do we build more of a community there? But I think really the bulk of the focus has been on, supporting the freelance community there, and really making sure, it's a place that they can, they can connect with other freelancers. They can kind of educate themselves. They can learn new skills. They can figure out how to kind of like grow themselves there. So I think, it's just really about, I think, genuinely understanding them is the most important thing to start there. Is what do these freelancers need? And Fiverr's, it's not like Fiverr's freelance community is just focused in New York City where we are. It's a global community of freelancers. So what does it mean to have kind of a community of freelancers in New York versus Germany versus Southeast Asia? Like, it's totally different what community means there. But I think it's the first step and most important step for us is to make sure we want to know what it means, and we want to cultivate a community and grow a community. And I think the second step is like understanding what community is for that group of people or that region, for us.
Sure. And so you mentioned about initiatives, and you talked about a couple of great ones, but one thing that stood out to me is how you positioned these initiatives, in regards to supporting them, in regards to developing their business. And I think that is a key thing, because, I've had conversations with government agencies and bigger organizations that are creating initiatives for small businesses, but I think they tend to leave out the part where they actually help them upgrade themselves, so they can actually take advantage of these opportunities. So when you talk about, what you're providing in these initiatives, I think is massively important, to not give someone an opportunity, but not give them the opportunity to understand how to actually leverage the opportunity. Have you run across that? And is that part of how you've set this up?
Yeah, I think, the one, I guess, to focus on here to highlight what you're talking about was the Future Collective. So the Future Collective, as I mentioned, it's an accelerator for Black-owned businesses. Okay. And it's in its third year. But, prior to its first year, I would say we spent almost a year figuring out what to do, and not just jumping into it and saying, hey, we're going to start an accelerator program for Black-owned businesses. But it was, getting an understanding of what are the challenges, that Black entrepreneurs face that white entrepreneurs don't, and what are the things that are most important. And we did a lot of research, talking to community members on the platform, talking to businesses off the platform, talking to kind of experts there, to understand what are the biggest challenges. And what we kind of really focused in on was, access to funding and mentorship were the two things that, Black-owned businesses struggled with as it relates to kind of other groups. And so built a program really around that. And the program provides a combination of cash or a grant to those businesses, credits to the Fiverr platform, and a mentorship program with 1863 Ventures, who's a programming partner that we're working with. So these businesses are going through a mentorship program where they're learning about, business fundamentals. They're learning about marketing. They're learning about, budgeting, but forgetting what the curriculum is there. But they're getting the foundations and the basics of business knowledge. They're paired with every year the program has changed in size, but I think for this third year, I think it's 12 businesses. So they're paired with 12 peers as well to learn from the peers as much as learning from the mentors and the kind of teachers there, and really kind of focusing on this idea of making it a collective as much as they're learning from, seasoned business people, they're learning from other people in similar stages to them. And I think, the funding and the grant there is important because a lot of these businesses need that to succeed and need that to thrive. But then the last piece is really just the credits to the platform. I think it shows Fiverr's utility and, that it makes sense that Fiverr is a part of this. The platform can really help these businesses, grow, whether it's they need a website, they need, social media marketing help, they need whatever it is they need, they can probably find that on Fiverr, and making sure that they understand where they should be kind of investing these credits with the help of kind of the program and really seeing the impact of it there. So I think it was very intentional to make sure we're focusing on the right things there that are going to make the most impact. It isn't just, hey, we're going to write a check and these businesses, should succeed. It isn't, hey, we're going to say we're doing this, but we're not writing a check. I think it's a combination of making sure we're providing them with funding and mentorship because we felt like those were the things that are going to be most impactful to really helping them grow.
And this lesson can be really picked up by anyone listening that is open on the bigger business side of things, even the enterprise side of things, to understand it's not just about just giving money and those opportunities. You have to give them that support system to level up.
Yeah, because I think that's the hard part too. That's the part that really takes work. Is providing that mentorship, providing that education. I think larger size businesses oftentimes can easily write big checks or write a lot of checks, but that's not what is going to make the most impact, I think. And it's amazing that there are a lot of companies donating a lot of business communities. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, but I think we aren't going to be able to match the amount that some of these big businesses are donating. I think we are able to make up for that in the value that the platform provides and this education and mentorship piece that we think is just as important as kind of the funding there.
Absolutely. And I agree. I mean, obviously any help is great help, but, in that instance, it's great for them to search out other organizations that can kind of provide that education part. So, especially if they're good at it, and they don't have to deal with it as much and just build a nice bridge between the two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is the most valuable lesson you've learned on your journey on creating impact?
Most valuable lesson. I mean, I think it's been, be really intentional and be really focused with what you were doing. I think the idea of creating an impact is, okay, how can we make the biggest impact? And I don't think it's necessarily about making the biggest impact right away. I think it's make a really intentional impact with what you're trying to do. Is it helping, in Fiverr's case, one business succeed? Okay, did you really do a good job helping that one business succeed? Okay, next time, see if you can help 3 businesses and build something there. But I think if you go in saying, hey, we have to do something that changes the world or changes, hundreds of businesses, it's going to get watered down. You're going to kind of stuck in the mud of things. And it's hard to really understand the impact that you've had. So I think it's about starting small, being really intentional, and not just kind of doing things as a checklist or, okay, we did all the things we were going to say we did, and that hopefully made an impact, but really, you're really being genuine and caring about making that individualized impact.
Absolutely. And I agree 125% on what you just said there. I just gave a talk to the National Association of Blind Entrepreneurs in Orlando. And, we talked really about the impact. We talked about innovation and impact. And I think one of the things I said to them is, you can't, innovation and impact are great things, but you have to start. Just get the ball rolling, because what you think might be the end goal may not be the end goal, but you will never know if you just don't try the first one, and then you start the course correct. And you're also getting feedback from those you're helping, so you can actually make sure that you're course correcting the right way, not for you, but for them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, totally. And I think what's been interesting too is like how you think about starting to get that ball rolling. And it's hard sometimes to get it going in terms of like these more purpose-driven initiatives or kind of impact-focused initiatives, because being a slightly larger business right now, Fiverr, it's not direct response marketing. It's not performance marketing that's going to deliver an immediate return to the business, but it is something that's more kind of a long-term investment in the brand, and really a long-term investment in our community, and showing that we really value these things. And yeah, you might not see the direct return on investment in year 1, year 2, but I think over time you will see kind of a change in what the perception of your brand is. Sure. And I think, again, focusing on the Future Collective, are we making an impact within kind of the Black business community? Do people think of Fiverr differently? And I think it's about knowing you're kind of investing the time and energy in the right places, and in turn that will change things.
Sure. And so, what has the impact of Fiverr had on your personal life? How has it changed the way that you think?
Yeah. How does it change the way I think? I mean, I think it's gotten me more focused on, what are people really building? What do people really care about? What are people trying to kind of do? And I think, Gen Z is changing, millennials are changing in terms of like what's important to them, compared to, baby boomers and other generations. Like the world of work is changing. I think the things that people value are changing, and, how can me as an individual or kind of Fiverr as a platform respond to that? And I think it's been interesting to really just focus on understanding people, and really understand what matters most to them, and kind of incorporate that into my work.
Sure. Let's focus a little bit on some of the members. So, are there anything that stand out for you as far as impact that you've heard back from the community, on how Fiverr has played a huge part in their life?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's amazing stories kind of all over the place of how Fiverr has helped a business get off the ground, how Fiverr has helped a business scale and grow, how Fiverr has helped someone change their life freelancing and stuff like that. So I think on the individual level, there's tons of these stories, and I think we try to highlight these stories across Fiverr social channels. We try to highlight it at community events. We try to highlight them by incorporating these people into our marketing materials. Show that these people that we're featuring are real users of the platform. And I think that's really a focus of where we're trying to push some of the marketing this year is, we don't have to sugarcoat things. Fiverr is making this impact, is an important role in so many lives. Let's tell these real authentic stories about businesses succeeding, about freelancers succeeding, and how Fiverr has been part of that success. And not that we're taking credit for that success, because I think success on the business side or on the freelance side is ultimately about someone working hard, someone really staying committed to them. But I think Fiverr is a resource in this piece of getting to success. And I think we can play a big part of it. And I think it's really really interesting.
Sure. And from the employee side of things, how does that work? How is Impact integrated into how the employees that work at Fiverr um, kind of go about the day or support the community?
Yeah. Yeah. So there is, different teams that I guess are touching kind of community. If there's everything from, a customer support team that is interacting with, people on the platform when, most often when there's issues, but sometimes when there's, good things to say about the platform.
Mm-hmm.
There is a community team that sits here in New York in our office. But really, I think the community team is kind of the center of community, but there's so many teams that touch, community and what it means there. So I think they are driving some of these specific initiatives, like I talked about with, the Ideator program or Future Collective or International Freelancer Day, but they're just a small piece of it. It's what are we doing on the product side that touches community? What are we doing on the marketing side? And I think it's really, trying to be intentional about talking to users of a platform and really understanding, what are the product challenges? What are the things, if it's just a focus group or if it's a one-on-one interview with the user of the platform, what are the things that don't work? What are the things that work? What do you need? Doing research, whether it's, qualitative or quantitative. So I think it's really just, different teams within Fiverr talking to community members in different ways. And I think it's also about, using the platform ourselves. So I said, we as a marketing team like to tell these real authentic stories, but we're also working with freelancers, on a daily basis to create content, to content across all things. So I think it's really about, kind of eating our own dog food there and making sure we're, really showing that we use the platform and, not just saying that we use it, but actually do it, and responding to what community really needs.
Sure. And I can validate a lot of what you're saying. I've seen I'm of course I'm on your mailing list and whatnot, and I've had opportunities to as a seller, on the platform to, contribute my story, which then makes it very important for me as someone being on the platform to see that I'm more than just a user 63729.
Yes.
And excuse me. And so these are great opportunities, I think businesses in general, and of course small businesses, we're afraid of feedback. We're afraid to ask how we're doing. Afraid, and I think that's a very important thing to get used to. It can be one of the most valuable assets that you have as a business, to not close your eyes and just go, I'm just gonna act like I don't see it,
Yeah.
maybe it'll go away. And you just gotta go in there, and it always ends up benefiting you for the better at the end of the day.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. And I think, right now, one of the areas that, we as a company or me specifically is focused on is kind of the idea of international expansion and kind of expanding to, countries outside of the US where the heart of kind of the business has been. And, it's opening up a bunch of new challenges and new problems and, the things that are important to, a business in Germany, which is kind of an area that we've focused a lot of attention, are very different than what's, important to America, a US-based business here. So it's really kind of understanding that, different parts of the world are going to see things differently. Right now, one of kind of the focuses for me and kind of the company to a certain extent is, international expansion. And I think that's kind of highlighting the same idea that, it's really important to understand what matters to the local community. In this case, talking about Germany, what Germans need or what, how German businesses operate and function and kind of value is very different than, an American focused business. And I think that's true, of every individual business. The things that are going to matter to them are going to be different than the things that matter to another business or to another freelancer. So I think it's about connecting kind of the dots there and understanding the things that are most important to the most number of businesses. Is it that we really need, to build trust? Is it that we need to really build, focus on kind of the efficiency of things? Is it that we really need to focus on cost? Like, what are the most important things, that Fiverr can provide as a platform to these businesses. Again, on the freelancer side, is it that they just need education? Is it they want to learn new skills? AI is this huge topic that's everywhere now. How can we teach freelancers more about AI? How can they incorporate AI into what they offer? Not that it is this thing to fear and think it's going to replace everyone's job, but how can it be a resource to help upskill these people, to help make them more efficient, to help improve the quality of the work that they're doing, that in turn could be an accelerator to their own business or their own career.
Sure. So we're getting close to wrapping this up. This is great. I'm loving everything that you're bringing to the table on behalf of the listeners here. In regards to a small business, and if we can include mid-size, so we can say SMBs and whatnot, what advice would you give them to start really thinking more about impact in the business? Of course, as they're learning, as they're growing, I think impact could be a great strategy for them. So, what advice did you give them, or what page can they take out of the Fiverr book?
Yeah, I think, going back to kind of what we touched on before about like starting small and starting intentional, I think I would focus on that. I think it's, identifying those people that are your most loyal customers, your first customers, not necessarily, but those are the people that fit your business most. What can you do that provides value to them? What do you have that's unique that other businesses don't have, that you can kind of really push and build something around? So I think, a lot of businesses could take impact in a lot of different directions, but I think it's about defining what impact is for you or your business. Not trying to save the world all at once, but can we be really intentional about, making an impact in this lane and staying in that lane and really focusing in that lane and kind of continuing to double down on efforts there, because I think you will see more kind of early signals of the return on that investment of making that impact, hearing rewarding stories, seeing kind of loyalty be built, seeing this community kind of start to develop, seeing the business grow. And really, I think you'll get more signals from being very intentional and being very focused, as opposed to really, focusing impact very broad. So I think that's kind of where I would focus my advice.
Sure. All right. So I have two questions for you, and they're personal, directly to you. And this is how we'll wrap up today. And so the first one is, what is your secret weapon when it comes to getting things done?
When it comes to getting things done, what's my secret weapon? I don't know. I think I would say I'm very kind of like goal driven. I think it's being an athlete, kind of having that in my background. It's okay, what's the goal? Okay, figure out how to do it. So I think it's very, very much about setting goals for myself, whether it's, hey, what do I need to accomplish this week? What do I need to accomplish this month? What do I need to accomplish in the next 5 years? And kind of really being clear about that with myself. So I think if I have a personal target, it's a lot easier for me to kind of focus on that. In my professional life, personal life, all of that. So I think it's about, really setting tasks for myself to complete, and focusing on achieving those things.
Sure. And then the final question is, what do you think your superpower is? The thing that everybody knows you for.
What does everyone know me for? I think the thing that I would say is my biggest strength, I don't even know if I would call it my superpower, because I feel like I wouldn't ever say I have superpowers. But I would say I consider myself like a genuinely curious person. I've always been, I think as a kid, I was an annoyingly curious kid that was a pain in the ass. And then I think, when I get to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I studied psychology because I was just genuinely curious about people and, what makes people do the things they do, think the way they think, what really drives that. And I think, leading that into a bit of a marketing career, that's an important part of it. Being curious about what motivates people, what drives people, what do people really care about. So I think it's also, pushed me to stay, hungry to grow. If I'm doing the same thing, I'm not learning something, and, I feel bored and I want something else to learn and do. So I think it's this idea of, or this trait of being curious, I would say is what I see as my biggest strength. Sometimes not a strength, but most of the time, something that helps me.
I think curiosity is an amazing strength. So and superpower. So thank you for sharing that. So is there any final thing you want to share with the audience before I let you go? In regards to impact. I mean, I know there's so much that Fiverr's doing. We didn't really talk much about the gig economy, but I guess that's kind of a thing. So is there any final parting words you want to leave with?
No, I mean, I think the idea of making an impact doesn't have to be huge. You know what I mean? Like making an impact on one person, making an impact on a small group of people, it's important, and it matters. And I think, seeing that happen, doing something that's intentional, doing something that's focused on making an impact, and seeing, what that does to you, to your business, I think will motivate people to do more. And I think it's about taking that first step and doing something there that I think really, pushes things in a path to do more. And I think Fiverr being a relatively large company, I think it's even hard for us to take those first couple steps and start doing these things and do more of these things. But I think it's really about, being intentional and being really focused. And I think it's been, really rewarding, focused on the impact side of things, for me personally and me professionally.
Thank you. Yeah. And so, first of all, thank you for agreeing again to be on here to share with our audience and to share with me, so I get a lot out of having these conversations myself. How can people connect with you?
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was fun talking, as much as it does, make someone nervous to get on a podcast and talk about these things, talk about themselves to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad we chatted, and hopefully, you learned some things. Hopefully, the listeners learned some things, and I definitely enjoyed talking. But yeah, people can reach out to me. I guess on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. My LinkedIn is just my name, Matt Clunan. So feel free to drop me a message. I will try to respond to everyone. Okay.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it from Matt. At Fiverr. If you haven't checked out Fiverr, please do. Again, I've been a user and I've been a seller, so I understand both sides, and it is an amazing platform, and especially for you small businesses out there that, there's no growth in the comfort zone. We should get out of the comfort zone. We need to expand. We can't do everything ourselves. Give away some of them hacks, So, again, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, 5 stars. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. And leave a 1-word comment. You don't have to leave a ton of words. Just leave 1 word about today, and we can continue to bring amazing guests to you. I'm excited for the future of impact for small businesses. And the more we start to embrace these big strategies from these amazing organizations, the sooner we can become one. Even if we don't want to be, we still can build a business that has tons of value and provides tons of value. So with that being said, Matt, I appreciate you again, sir. Thank you. And I look forward to hopefully having you on the show again.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. It was great.
And that brings us to the end of another enlightening journey here on the Impact Us All Business Podcast. Every story we've shared, every insight gained, is a step towards creating a world where business becomes a beacon of positive change. Your time with us is more than just listening. It's about becoming part of a movement that values growth, innovation, and the incredible impact we can have when we come together. If you're ready to be a part of this journey every step of the way, we have 3 small favors to ask. 1, please subscribe to our podcast. It's the easiest way to ensure that you never miss an episode filled with stories and strategies that matter to you. 2, leave us a review, even if it's just 1 word. Your feedback helps us grow and continue bringing you content that inspires and empowers. And 3, rate our podcast. Your ratings help others find us, expanding our community of impactors who, just like you, want to make a difference in the world. Every step you take with us is a step towards impactful change. Your voice, your action, and your participation, it all adds up to a global movement. Let's continue to reshape the world, one business, one idea, one story at a time. Together, we can impact us all. See you in the next episode.